Esta sociedad honoraria hispánica fue fundada por la Asociación Americana de Maestros de Español y Portugués en 1953 para los estudiantes de las escuelas secundarias norteamericanas. Este capítulo se debe a los esfuerzos del profesor Tony Restrepo de nuestra misma escuela, Tom C. Clark High School. El nombre de este capítulo es Francisco de Goya. Nuestro lema es Todos juntos o A todos a una. Nuestros colores son el rojo y el dorado, y nuestra insignia y sellos son los de la Asociación Madre.
This Spanish Honor Society was founded by the American Association of Teachers of Spanish and Portuguese in 1953. For the students of North American secondary schools, this chapter is due to the efforts of Professor Tony Restrepo of Tom C. Clark High School. The name of this chapter is Francisco de Goya. Our motto is All Together. Our colors are red and gold, and our insignia and seal are those of the Mother Association.
Ahora les pedimos que guarden silencio. Esta es nuestra organización, seria y significativa. Escuchen todos con cuidado. Esta es nuestra Madre Vela, que nos sirve todos los años. Representa la inspiración.
Now we ask that you remain silent. This is our initiation, serious and significant. Let us all listen carefully. This is our mother candle. It serves us each year. It represents inspiration.
Nuevos miembros, por favor, pónganse de pie. Please stand. Como ejemplo de esta inspiración, repitemos en coro las palabras del poeta Núñez de Arce, que escribe el poema Excelsior. Please repeat after me. ¿Por qué los corazones miserables? ¿Por qué las almas fieles? En los fieros combates de la vida, ni luchan ni resisten. El espíritu humano es más constante. Cuanto más se levante. Dios puso el fango en la llanura y puso la roca en la montaña. La blanca nieve que en los hondos valles derretirse ligera. En las altivas cumbres permanece inmutable y eterna.
Cada uno tiene una velita en la mano. Esta simboliza nuestra carrera en la vida. Así, sin arder, existe, pero no vive. Esa velita está diciendo, si me queman, vivo, si no, perezco. Ojalá nuestras vidas nunca sean velas sin arder. Ahora vendrá cada uno de ustedes en turno a esta madre vela a recibir de ella la llama simbólica, la llama que simboliza con su ardor la inspiración hacia altos ideales.
Each has a candle in their hand. This typifies our force of life. Thus, without burning, it exists, but does not live. The candle is saying, if they burn me, I live. If not, I die. May our lives never be candles unburned. Now each of you will come in turn to our mother candle to receive from it the flame, which symbolizes its heat, the inspiration towards our high ideals.
Frase por frase. You will repeat the oath of the society phrase by phrase. Como miembro del capítulo Francisco de Goya, prometo dedicarme al estudio de la lengua española con el fin de dominarla algún día, recordando que una lengua puede ser un lazo fuerte entre personas de distintos orígenes, de raza o religión. Como ciudadano de mi patria, prometo promover la amistad y el entendimiento entre ella y los otros países del mundo. Esta es mi promesa y mi juramento. Ahora cada uno apagará la llama de su velita, todos. Pero nunca la de su espíritu. Recordemos esto. Guarde cada miembro su velita como recuerdo de su iniciación en esta sociedad. Amigos, por la autoridad que me concede la presidencia del capítulo Francisco de Goya, yo les declaro miembros de este capítulo. Pasen ustedes enseguida para firmar el registro y recibir en turno su certificado, parche y recibir la bienvenida.
Where's all?
Darren's opinion matters.
Caitlin Edwards. Claudia Erazo. Mauricio Fernandez. Javier Ferreras. Karen Flores. Glenn Garcia.
Krista Garcia. Pablo Garcia. Victoria Garza. Benjamin Geaton.
Of the Medical Tourism Research, and the co-chair of the International Committee of the Arte Research Institute at Texas A&M University. He serves as chairman of the Executive Committee of the U.S.-Mexico Foundation in Washington, D.C., and of the working group of the San Antonio Cities Council Global Advisory Committee. He has served as CEO of the North American Development Bank, executive director at the Mexican Foreign Trade Bank, and partner and chairman of 2 marketing and business consulting firms in Mexico. He is the past chairman boards of the World Affairs Council and the Free Trade Alliance in San Antonio. He is the host of Hablemos de Negocios at Univision TV in San Antonio and Austin. He has published business essays in the US, Mexico, Canada, the UK, and the Netherlands, and has participated as a speaker and lecturer in over 30 countries. He is a graduate from Harvard University, where he was recognized with the Literature Fellow Award. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Raul Rodriguez.
Thank you so much, buenas noches. It's a true honor to be here with you, and thank you, Professor Estrepo, for the invitation. Thank you, Marta, for the very kind introduction. Principal Woods, for hosting us. Can you hear me? It's particularly an honor to be here on the 60th anniversary of the Sociedad Hispana. Because in 60 years, we're commemorating 60 years of great work in terms of promoting, in terms of fostering the learning of Spanish and Portuguese. And what I'm going to be talking to you about is very briefly underscoring the great advantages of having learned Spanish and Portuguese, or Portuguese. And if I may, I'm going to be focusing on Spanish because of the preeminence of Spanish as a second language in the US. Happily, we have transitioned from a time when learning Spanish, when being fluent in Spanish, was a liability. It was a big no-no. And it was a big no-no back then, and I'm not talking about long ago, I'm talking about maybe 30 to 40 years ago here in San Antonio and in the US in general. It was a liability because it represented, in our minds, an obstacle to assimilating into the melting pot of America. It was sort of a hurdle in terms of becoming truly an American. Today, fortunately, we have rethought, we have reshaped our thinking, our mindset in terms of the importance of learning another language. And today, learning Spanish is an asset. So we have gone from liability to asset in just a few years. And that's truly a good reason to celebrate. But let me tell you why specifically I think we should celebrate being able to speak Spanish in addition to English. And I'll give you four reasons, and I'm sure you're very well aware of most of what I'm going to say, but I'll try to structure those thoughts so that you keep them in mind, not only as you enjoy speaking Spanish, but as you improve your proficiency in the Spanish language, which hopefully you will continue to do. In fact, I hope you go beyond that and learn Mandarin and French and German, another language, as you make progress in school. When I visit with my European friends, I am envious of their ability to speak several languages. And believe me, when you're in business, or when you're in your professional lives, it's a tremendous advantage to be able to communicate directly with people around the world in their native tongues. So let me give you four specific advantages of particularly learning Spanish. First one has to do with what is quite obvious, and that is the preeminence, the relevance of Spanish around the world. We are part of 400 million people around the world that are native speakers of Spanish. I'm talking about Mexican-born in my case. And 60 million additional people who have learned Spanish as a second language. So almost 500 million people around the world will be able to communicate with you, in addition to the millions that speak English. Spanish is the primary language of 20 countries around the world, the third most spoken language after Mandarin and English. 20 million students around the world are learning Spanish as a second language. It's the most popular second language being taught today in the US. The second reason has to do with the demographic landscape of the US, which is changing, as I'm sure you know, dramatically as we speak. Our demography, our landscape, our population is truly shifting in ways that were unprecedented and unexpected until recently. Today, we are more than 50 million Hispanics living in the US. And over the last decade, from 2000 to 2010, the Hispanic population grew 5 times more rapidly than the rest of the population in the US. So imagine how that is changing our landscape, our demographic landscape. To the extent that today Hispanics represent 17% of the total population of the US versus 13% 10 years ago. 1 in every 4 babies in the US today are Hispanic. 1 in every 4. Never before a minority group has made up such a large share of the nation's youth. And this is happening not only in the traditional states where Hispanic growth and presence has been here for quite a number of years and decades, like California and Texas and Florida and New York and Illinois. You can see this in South Carolina, you can see this in Alaska, you can see the numbers growing dramatically all over the US. Particularly people coming from Mexico, as is my case. We represent the largest diaspora, the largest immigration group in the world, Mexicans here in the US. 53 million people in the US today speak Spanish. This is the world's second largest Spanish-speaking country in the world, after Mexico. In 30 years, in fact, because of this growth, because of this reshaping of America from a demographic perspective, in 30 years, the U.S. will become a minority-majority nation. Texas, in fact, will become a majority-minority state in just 2 years. Today, 10 million Hispanics live in Texas. Today, already more than half of the young students your age in Texas are Hispanic, more than half. And by the time you are my age, a third of the population in the US, 1 in every 3 Americans, will be Hispanic. In just 16 years, half of the population in Texas altogether will be Hispanic. Today, close to 700,000 students in public schools in Texas speak Spanish at home. In our city, in Bexar County, 60% of the population is Hispanic. 40% of the total population of our county speaks Spanish at home. How many of you are Garcias or Rodriguezes? You are definitely part of mainstream America today. For the first time in history, two non-Anglo surnames, Garcia and Rodriguez, are among the 10 most common surnames in the U.S. So we are part of America mainstream. The third reason, one is the sheer numbers, two is demography. The third reason has to do with business. The second most used language in business in the world today is Spanish, after English. So imagine the advantage of being bilingual in English and Spanish if you are going into business or professional life, as I hope you all will. The Hispanic buying power within the U.S. is growing substantially, much more rapidly than the buying power, than the economic clout of non-Hispanics. Our market, the Hispanic market in the States today, is more or less $1.1 trillion per year. If we, the Hispanics in the U.S., were a nation, were a country, we would be the 12th largest economy in the world. And more impressive, in 5 years, if the trends continue the way they are, we will be the ninth country in the world from an economic standpoint. I work part-time as a host of a Univision program, Hablemos de Negocios, which is devoted to interviewing people in the business community in San Antonio or coming from other places that is of relevance for the Hispanic business community in San Antonio. And this is part of a newscast at 10 p.m. at Univision. Our newscast is the most watched newscast in San Antonio, considering English and Spanish. So imagine what this is representing in terms of the business that is behind it. Markets that are relevant in terms of Spanish. Just next door, right next door, Mexico. Do you know that the U.S. sells more to Mexico today, exports more to Mexico today, all kinds of things, than it does to China, Taiwan, and Japan added together? We sell more to Mexico today than we sell to the UK, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Italy added together. We sell more to Mexico today than to Brazil, Russia, India, and China added together. We sell more to Mexico today than we sell to all the rest of Latin America and the Caribbean added together. It's a tremendous customer just south of the border, just a few miles from here. Imagine the advantage of doing business with Mexico while speaking Spanish. It makes a tremendous difference. I can tell you that because I do a lot of business with Mexican firms. In fact, in Texas, more than a third of our sales, of our total exports, go to Mexico. That is about 3.5 times more than what we sell to Canada, and it's 7 times more than what we sell to China. So this is definitely a tremendous market for us, and it's right next door. And it sustains in Texas alone about 500,000 jobs, and it's growing like you can't believe. And in addition to that, we are building clusters of industry that cross the border, corridors of industry that cross the border, production processes that include both sides of the border. If you go to Toyota in San Antonio today, which as you know is one of the central components of our job source in San Antonio and growing with tremendous potential, you will find that the Tundra trucks that are produced in Toyota incorporate tremendous amount of components coming from Mexico. And parts of the truck go back and forth in terms of the production process itself. So the integration in terms of business with Mexico is a tremendous asset for San Antonio. And in order to be part of that, speaking Spanish is itself a tremendous asset. Let me finalize with one more advantage of speaking Spanish that you will face more and more as this landscape of America continues to evolve from a demographic perspective. This is an advantage that is perhaps more subtle, difficult to understand, but more profound and more important. We are a product of two cultures. South of the border, the Hispanic culture is a culture that comes from Philip II and Counter-Reformation and Conquest and Mestizaje. The Anglo culture is a culture that comes from Luther and Reformation and no Mestizaje but settlement. Two different versions of Western civilization. We are blending, we are merging the two versions of Western civilization. And as we do that, we need to understand each other. We need to build bridges to make sure that we enrich this wonderful melting pot that we call America. A melting pot that is composed of essential values that have prevailed for many years and many waves of immigration. In order for us to be a melting pot and not a salad bowl, which would do away with the advantages that we have as a society in terms of our values, we need to understand and we need to communicate. And a fundamental ingredient, a bridge of understanding, is language. So being bilingual is definitely not a liability. It's a tremendous asset in these four ways. Así es que en la medida en que ustedes continúen estudiando el español, espero que no solamente aprendan las palabras, sino que las aprendan bien, que dominen el español como si fuera su idioma original, que en última instancia terminen con los idiomas originales, que sean perfectamente bilingües, y en esa medida no solamente serán más exitosos en su vida profesional, cualquiera que ésta sea, en cualquier profesión que ustedes se dediquen les va a servir muchísimo, pero también nos hará mejores americanos, nos hará mejores ciudadanos a todos y nos permitirá hacer una contribución efectiva como individuos y como ciudadanos a la grandeza de esta nación. Muchas gracias.
Without further ado, it is my privilege to present to you two Spanish 5 AP students from Mr. Estreba's class, David Ordóñez Palacios, playing the flamenco guitar, accompanied by Andrés Zavala, who is reciting the poem by Federico García Lorca, Muerte de Antonito el Camorio.
clavel varonil. Les clavó sobre las botas mordiscos de jabalí, en la lucha daban saltos jabonados de delfín. Bañó con sangre enemiga su corbata carmesí, pero eran 4 puñales y tuvo que sucumbir. Cuando las estrellas clavan rejones al agua gris, cuando los herales sueñan Verónicas de Alelí, voces de muerte sonaron cerca de Guadalquivir. Antonio Torres Heredia, Camborio de Duracrín, Moreno de Verdeluna, voz del clavel varonil. ¿Quién te ha quitado la vida cerca del Guadalquivir? Mis 4 primos Heredias, hijos de Benamejí, lo que en otros no envidiaban, ya lo envidiaban en mí. Zapatos color corinto, medallones de marfil y este cutis amasado con aceituna y jazmín. Ay, Antoñito el Camborio, digno de una emperatriz, acuérdate de la Virgen porque te vas a morir. Ay, Federico García, llama a la Guardia Civil, ya mi talle se ha quebrado como caña de maíz. Tres golpes de sangre tuvo y se murió de perfil. Viva, moneda que nunca se volverá a repetir. Un ángel marchoso pone su cabeza en un cojín y otros, de rubor cansado, encendieron un candil. Cuando los 4 primos Heredias llegan a Benamejí, voces de muerte cesaron cerca de Guadalquivir.
Heredia's professional life spans over 40 years and includes the recording of 10 long-playing records under the label of CBS and Sony International. Mr. Herredia will be playing the following songs: El Morquial Sombrío, En mi vida privada, La voz del viento y Tropel de Simorán.
Buenas noches. Voy a tratar de hacer un par de cancioncitas porque veo que el tiempo apremia. La música que les traigo a petición del profesor Restrepo es el folclore de media Colombia. La música, lo que llamamos la música de los llanos, la música de cowboys, donde el arpa es el instrumento principal para esta modalidad de folclore. Ok, vamos al grano, vamos a una canción que se llama así. Esta canción la compuse allá por los años 70, se llama Tropel. Bueno, no es tropel. Esto se llama el Morichal Sombrío. El Morichal es un conjunto de palmas, como un oasis sombrío. El Morichal Sombrío.
Joining me on stage momentarily will be El Ritmo Colombiano Folklore Group. They're a group of local dancers who perform in various events in San Antonio and in other cities. They'll be performing two traditional dances from the country of Colombia, South America. The cumbia originated in Colombia's Caribbean coastal region from the musical and cultural fusion of native Colombians, slaves brought from Africa, and the Spanish during colonial times. Cumbia derives from the African word cumbe, which means celebration. The basic step represents slavery due to the chains grabbed around the feet. The slaves had maintained the same posture throughout the dance. The candles and skirts, also called poleras, were used by the women as a symbol of sensuality to attract men. Please welcome Ritmo Colombiano.
Buenas noches. Y arriba Colombia. Arriba México. Arriba El Salvador. Centroamérica y arriba la United States. Amigos, hoy vamos a estar aquí entregándoles 2 canciones de los éxitos más grandes que tenemos de Colombia, las cumbias más la reina de la cumbia de Colombia. Y no venimos todo el grupo completo porque uno está por fuera, pero quisimos hacer frente nosotros a tocarle típicamente lo que acostumbramos a tocar allá cuando se trata de una parranda de esta. Por ahora vamos a entregarles una cumbia que es un éxito mundialmente, que dio a conocer a Colombia por todo el mundo, y esto se llama La Cumbia Sampuesana y dice:
La cumbia sampuesana, la que baila con ganas. La cumbia sampuesana, la que baila con ganas.
una cumbia y dice: ¿Ya se cansaron? Bueno, de mirar será, porque de bailar no hay cansancio. Amigos, vamos a tocarle otra de las reinas de Colombia, de la cumbia en Colombia. Ya la conocen ustedes, pero la vamos a tocar a nuestro estilo. Y se llama La Pollera Colorada. Y dice:
Con su pollera colorada, como se me
start recording.
Buenas noches. Somos Andean Fusion from Peru, Ecuador, and Mexico. Well, we are here and we're going to represent South America. The first piece that we're going to play is going to be from Ecuador, and it's San Juanito. The second song is going to be from Bolivia, and it's called Taquirari. And the last song is going to be from Peru, and it's called El Condor Pasa, the fly of the condor. Sí, sí.